We're now live. Hello.
Hi everyone. Welcome to Cook With Us. If you've never cooked with us before, we do this every Friday on Instagram and every Tuesday on Facebook. And today we are making vegan street tacos. Now, if you want to actually cook along with us, we have prepared the recipe ahead of time for you. d2e.co/street tacos. And if you want to shop for some of the ingredients, you can actually shop for the top 4 main ingredients on that recipe as well. And that will take you to our online shop, downtoearth.org/shop. Yes, do we have a question?
Aloha from Germany.
Oh, aloha! Wow, Germany! That's very far away. We feel very close to you through the power of Instagram. Thank you so much for joining us, and for everyone else who is local, wherever you are on your lunch break, maybe you're watching in your car, hopefully not driving. Wherever you are, we're happy that you're with us as we cook our vegan street tacos today. So this recipe is a little interesting. We are actually using this very special ingredient as the basis for our taco meat. I know, you're probably thinking, how is this going to become taco meat? Well, walnuts are incredible. It's obviously not going to exactly resemble meat, but it kind of will have a ground beef sort of feel to it. So it's going to be amazing, trust me. And the other main ingredient is riced cauliflower. So this is the packet that I got down from our chill section. This is our organic riced cauliflower. It comes already riced like this, and then all I did was I put this in the oven at 475 degrees for about 20 minutes. You want to watch it when you get to about the 15 to 20 minute stage because it does burn. You can see some little speckled burnt pieces. But I just did that with a little bit of salt. And these walnuts are actually from our bulk department. You can get all different kinds of nuts from our bulk department. And these are raw walnuts. Some of you may not know that it's a good idea if you have digestive issues not to eat raw nuts directly, but you do need to activate them. You can roast them, you can soak them and start the germination process, but they do have enzyme inhibitors and phytic acid when you eat them raw. So a good tip, I roasted these for about 5 minutes at 350 degrees. So I am going to throw these into my food processor here. Oh, I'm having a little bit of a technical difficulty there. I haven't used this food processor in a while. I'm going to throw these right in there, my walnuts. I'm going to throw my cauliflower in there as well. You'll see it has a very fluffy consistency once you've roasted it. Pop that in there, and you can't smell this, but I love the smell of roasted cauliflower. I wish you could smell this. It smells amazing. If there are any questions, feel free to shout out. Cynthia, who is behind the camera, she will answer. She will ask your questions of me. And then we have our Bragg's liquid aminos. Now, I've used mostly coconut aminos in a lot of our recipes, but this is actually an unfermented version of shoyu. So if anyone does not want fermented food, you can try the Bragg's liquid aminos instead. If you want a soy-free alternative, then you can go for our coconut aminos. Okay, wow, this is brand new bottle. Haven't even opened the wrapper on it.
Actually,
Yes.
that's good because we had a few people just join.
Great.
You could just reiterate what we're making.
Yes, for those of you who have just joined us, we are making vegan street tacos today. I'm making our taco meat at the moment. I've got some roasted walnuts in there, roasted riced cauliflower, which is from our chill department, our organic rice cauliflower, and I'm just putting in a little bit of Bragg's liquid aminos. You can use shoyu tamari, coconut aminos, whatever you like. It just gives that savory flavor. So that's what I've just put in there. Now I'm going to put a whole medley of different seasonings. So I'm using garlic powder, onion powder, ground coriander, smoked paprika, and cayenne pepper. So I think this is actually my favorite blend. I've probably used it before, but it's just a great blend that works really well with any kind of mock meat kind of flavor that you're trying to achieve. So I'm going to put these, I'm going to blend these in there. And I always, anytime I need a little bit of spice, I always use the cayenne pepper. It's high in vitamin C, high in antioxidants. It's even being used to relieve blood pressure, things like that. So, okay, what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to pulse this because you don't want the walnuts to become like a walnut butter. You don't want that because then it's not really going to be like taco meat. It's going to be like taco meat paste, which is horrible. So I'm going to pulse it very slowly. Bear with the noise. And that's probably enough. I'll show you what it looks like. As you can see, it's kind of got that meaty consistency to it. So this is basically what we're going to use as our taco meat. Very, very straightforward. I also wanted to show you a really easy quinoa recipe that I use all the time when I'm making like burritos or tacos, anything where I'm wrapping things. I like to, we've already got good healthy fats from our walnuts. Also, walnuts are a great source of protein. We want to add a really, like a substantial protein source, and the quinoa is great for that. So this is a really, really easy quinoa recipe. All I'm going to do is I'm going to saute some onions to begin with. Some red onion here. And you can also make this in an Instant Pot if you like. If you want to use an Instant Pot, you would use this on the saute function. Just add a little bit of broth in there, and I just saute my red onions. I honestly use this recipe for rice, for quinoa, for when I blend rice and quinoa together. This is such a great basic recipe, and you can use it with any kind of food you're wrapping up. It just gives it a little bit of extra substance, so it's more filling, So I really love this recipe. It's very, very, very versatile. Really great with burritos as well when you want to put some rice or quinoa in your burritos. So just letting that saute, and then I'm going to add in a little bit of garlic. We're going to pretend that you can smell the aroma of the onions. They're becoming translucent, and they're at that stage where you can add the garlic. Now, usually you can add the onion and the garlic together. Sometimes I like to add the garlic separately, only because the garlic, when it's been sauteed for too long, it can get a bitter flavor to it. So sometimes it's better to add it a little bit later. And now we're imagining you can smell the onion and the garlic. It's smelling amazing, and it's time to add our quinoa. Now the quinoa I'm using is a red quinoa. It's from our bulk department. I've rinsed and drained it. Quinoa is an incredible ancient superfood, and we actually have a red one. We also have a tricolor blend in the bulk department. It's maybe $1 more per pound than the red color. You can use any color you like. Honestly, there's not much nutritional difference between the colors, but it depends whether you want to have a more ricey looking one or a more exotic red one. Okay, so giving that a little bit of a stir, and then the last thing I'm going to do is put in my veggie broth. You can also use water, but I find that when you add veggie broth to rice or quinoa or your rice quinoa blend, it adds so much flavor. I really, really love adding veggie broth. And this is my favorite veggie broth, the Pacific brand low sodium veggie broth. This is also friendly for anyone on a low fat diet. It doesn't have any oil. Okay, popping the veggie broth in there. And this is my secret ingredient for making quinoa and rice. This will actually turn your quinoa or rice from just plain quinoa and rice into like a meal on its own. You can just eat it straight up without anything else. Actually, my boyfriend does that all the time. So all I'm doing is I'm adding a little bit, I actually can't this is too big. Does it fit? Okay, another tablespoon. I'm gonna add a little bit of this in there, and I just wanna stir it around. Make sure that it's pretty well distributed before you pop the lid on and let it cook. You can also, if you're eating this on its own, you can add a little bit of salt. If you're eating it with something else, then you don't necessarily need the salt. Just a little bit if it's like a meal on its own.
Can we see the product again?
Yes, absolutely. This is the 100% organic tomato paste. There's no salt in there, it's just tomatoes. So really great product. And it comes in a little glass jar. I have so many of these glass jars on my, next to my sink, and I use them to regrow green onions because they fit the roots in there perfectly. You can use them to regrow seedlings, things like that. I find them really, really handy. Okay. So I've got my everything cooking. So all I'm going to do is pop the lid on that and get that going. Oh, not this one. This lid is too small. We're going to put this one on, and it's going to be cooking on its own. You bring that to the boil. Wait about 20 minutes. That's the amazing thing about quinoa. It cooks so quickly. If you've put rice in, you probably need about half an hour or longer, but quinoa is really, really fast. And then you just fluff it with a fork. I have made some already. It looks a little bit like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to now bring my workstation over here so that we can actually assemble our tacos. Okay, here we go. Now, I have my taco meat, I have my quinoa, I have all of the, okay, so this is another really handy cheat tip. If you are like me, and sometimes you just cannot be bothered chopping vegetables, our deli actually does sell a lot of single veggies. Different delis will have a different selection, but it's in the salad bar area. Now, as many of you may know, at the moment it's not self-serve, but we do have a team member available who can grab the single serves of veggies for you, and that means you don't have to chop your own. And especially if you're just making it for yourself or a small quantity, you don't want to chop an entire red cabbage up, you can just grab a little. And that's actually exactly what I did. I went down to our South King Street store, that's the store below our Honolulu community room where we are, and I just asked one of our team members for a little bit of avocado, a little bit of red cabbage, some tomatoes, 2 tomatoes, just a couple, and some these are actually ones that I prepared, but this I got just from our deli. She put a little carton for me, and I brought it right upstairs. So really great way of just minimalizing if you don't want to cook a lot, don't want to chop a lot. Then I have some coriander here, and I also have some canned corn that I just rinsed and drained. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to make my taco. So I grab my taco meat.
And that's cilantro for us Americans.
Oh, true. I'm so sorry. I call it coriander. That's what we call it in Australia. So those of you who don't know, ground coriander is actually the same as cilantro. That's probably why you're probably wondering why it has such a similar flavor, almost exactly the same. That's why. Okay, so I have my taco meat in here. I have a couple of larger walnut pieces. That's okay.
What taco are you using?
Oh, great question. I'm using a sprouted corn tortilla. This is by Food for Life. Love this brand. They make great breads, great tortillas. If you're ever looking for some sprouted bread, sprouted grains are really, really high in nutrition. So this is a great, great brand. And that's in our frozen section.
And if you follow Dr. Shintani, that's one of his favorites.
Yes, yes. So Cynthia mentioned Dr. Shintani really loves, many of you know Dr. Shintani, our beloved resident doctor. He really loves sprouted grains. So you can get this in our frozen section. Selected stores also have it available fresh in the bakery. Okay. So I'm going to add my taco meat. I'm going to add a little bit of my quinoa, which I made earlier. So you can see that kind of serves as the meatiness. And then I just put a little corn, some red cabbage, maybe a small piece of avocado. You can, of course, also use guac and salsa. We actually sell guac and salsa fresh. So if you want to get some, if you don't want to make your own and you want to buy some from the deli, you can get that from there. And I don't know if I'm going to use this tomato, it's a little large, but all I do is I wrap it up like that, and there's my taco. Now, I want to show you how you do it very quickly with a leaf. So this is for your raw option. If you want to, you can actually use the walnuts, and instead of roasting them, you can activate them or soak them for between like 2 hours to 4 hours. And then what you do is you omit the cauliflower. So this will be your raw version. Everything else is raw. You also don't need to use the quinoa. So then you would put that on here like this. I'm gonna use some of my taco meat. And the thing is with leaves, if you buy larger leaves like this, you can actually use a little more filling. Sometimes the corn tortillas are a little smaller, but you're gonna make a few. You're not gonna have just one of these, hopefully. You're gonna eat more than that. And then same thing, sprinkle a few of your, I've got some cilantro, not coriander, cilantro. And then I've got my different veggies, and that's it. And you can top it with some sour cream, some guac, salsa, whatever you like. Yes?
Can you remind us what kind of leaf that is?
Yes, this is a charred leaf. So you can use, this is a collard leaf. You can use charred leaves, you can use lettuce, you can, I mean, pretty much whatever. If you have a large spinach leaf, whatever leaf is really large, all I did was chop off the end, and I also just skinned the bottom so that the stalk is not so protruding. Okay, that's it. Any other questions about this recipe?
Yes,
Yes.
Earlier you were talking about activating the walnuts. Can you
Yes.
talk about it again?
Absolutely.
I didn't hear it.
Okay, so for those of you who came in a little bit later and didn't hear me speaking about the activated walnuts, so often, all raw nuts contain basically their enzyme inhibitors as well as phytic acid. Now, these can interfere with digestion, especially if you eat a lot. If you're just eating a small amount each day, it's not really going to make a huge difference, but if you have digestive issues or you're eating a lot of raw nuts, then you want to make sure that you do activate them. And there are a couple of ways that you can do that. You can roast them, which is what I did. I roasted them for 5 minutes in the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Or you can soak them in water, and that actually starts the germination process, which is basically like sprouting them. So yes.
Can you add that information to the recipe?
Sure,
later?
absolutely. Yeah, I can add that. It will be there by the end of today. Great. Any other questions? No? Well, if that's everything, I just want to remind you that you can get these ingredients online if you would like to do curbside pickup or delivery. You can go to downtoearth.org/shop right at that address right there. Or if you want to order anything from our DTE Deli app or order online, you can go to order.downtoearth.org, or you can just download the DTE Deli app from the App Store. Right. If there aren't any more questions, I'm going to give this a bite because I want to taste it. This is delicious. The walnuts and the cauliflower really take on the flavor. Really good. Well, thank you so much for joining us for our Instagram live cooking demo of vegan street tacos. Just a reminder that we do this every Friday on Instagram at 12, every Tuesday on Facebook at 12. So make sure you come along and join us for our next Cook With Us live cooking demo. Thanks everybody. Have a great weekend and enjoy your 4th of July tomorrow. Aloha.